Good evening all, welcome to the King Power Stadium. You may well recognise these, the old clap banners, they dish them out. Specifically good, specific Norwich one as well. It's always good, it's part of the furniture here at the King Power Stadium. Anyway, welcome. Norwich have actually done what was probably more predictable than everyone was predicting today, which is put in an excellent performance against a team who, was second and actually Liverpool's closest title rivals as we kicked off today, and produced an excellent performance, defensively assured, good on the ball most of the time. They conceded the odd chance, but they created their fair share too. They were disciplined, compact, they had a bit of needle when they needed to, and this suggestion and evidence really now that Norwich can play better against better teams is starting to play out quite a lot, which as I wrote during the week again at The Athletic, is actually an annoying habit, because in the end it's the sort of thing that might actually undo them unless they can put in performances like this against teams that are much closer to them in the table. And that, from this point on, has to be the challenge for Norwich City over the course of the second half of the season, because when you look at this, I mean, there will be tactical issues with this, and there will have been mistakes they've made defensively as to why they've lost games against the teams around them. But I think you look at this and you just think psychologically we are seeing players that we thought would thrive at this level off the back of last season, delivering it here in games like this against very good sides, and not against teams where they are more important and they should be able to do it. Leicester were interesting. I have to say, Leicester didn't press Norwich as much as I was expecting them to, and that lack of energy probably helped Norwich. I think, again, it's a bit like Man City, I suppose. Man City, as I've said before, it's a positional press they put in against Norwich rather than a physical harrying press that a team like Southampton managed. And again, Sheffield United kind of only did that for 10 minutes at the start of the second half last Sunday, and that was enough to really decide that game once they got themselves ahead. Norwich scored a wonderful goal to give themselves the first half lead. They conceded a poor goal really from a corner. It was a shame for Tim. Tim Krul didn't really react to Jamie Vardy's header. Again, a lot of people will look at the zonal marking issues of Jamie Vardy running across the defence, but there should be runners being blocked at that point. It's far too simplistic to just go, well, zonal marking doesn't work, because it does, but it's like anything. If you don't do it right, then it doesn't, and I think that's mostly the problem Norwich have had today. But Norwich had a lovely balance, and actually the balance came from them being a clinical and direct in a precise way in terms of playing through the lines, looking for the right pass beyond sort of behind Leicester's midfield at the right times, and switching play quite well. They used the ball really well, and that gave them prodding and probing, but they did it in quite compact sessions. Although, in fairness, they did have a good amount of territory and possession in the first half, which I think kind of set the tone in a way. But Norwich were able to maintain a threat through most of the game. There was a period in the second half where they really started to look tired and they needed a second wind, and they did find it, and that was crucial because they were getting deep and it was looking like the pressure might start to tell. But Norwich always managed to ride it out, and also their last ditch defending was very good, but not in a way that it was their only line of defending. It's a last ditch defending that worked when what they were doing before that had just failed, and it wasn't failing that often, and that was a good thing. So all in all, great performances across the board. Jamal Lewis is going to have a fight to get back in the side if Sam Byram keeps playing like this, because he's providing some really assured defensive work, but he's also doing excellently in support up front. I have to say, having spent the first half of the season, and I actually came with this thought a week or two ago, it might have even been on the Ball podcast, actually been crying out for Anel Hernandez to be fit, because his direct running was the thing Norwich were kind of missing in their attacks. But since Anel's come back in, Norwich's results have actually suffered to a degree. And mainly because they haven't quite been able to use that threat, although Anel's looked quite good and quite dangerous on his own. Sometimes the way the team hasn't worked to an effective end. And today, with Emi, Buendia and Todd Cantwell as the kind of, they were very deep. Norwich almost played a 4-4-1-1 for a lot of today, with Kenny in main support of Timu. But Todd and Emi were crucial in terms of getting the work through both ends of the pitch. And I think that's probably how Norwich managed to be tighter at the back, yet also providing a consistent direct threat going forward without just hoiking it long to Teemu Pukki. The goal was exquisitely made, and fair play to Tom Treibel, whose little ball around the corner made it, and then the execution one there was fantastic. And once again, I have to say, Treibel and Teti together at this level in this season in the Premier League, where they're trying to do a replication of what Norwich did under Farke in his first season, it does look Norwich's most suitable central midfield pairing, and I think they should stick to that now. It should be one of the first things that goes in. But there were lots of very good performances. It's just, had it not been for that mistake from the corner, I don't know. Leicester are a very good side, and they played with 3 formations, I think, over the course of the game. They've got strength on the bench. Brendan did a few things to really try and mix this up and did it all very well. A couple of additional points. Teemu Pukki, it was revealed after the game, had a sore toe, could possibly be broken. They're going to assess it. They think his might not be too bad. They're all quite relaxed about it, but still, a broken toe is a broken toe, and you don't want to get any worse. And you do sort of wince at the idea of Teemu being out for several weeks, because with Joseph Drimich out as well, that would be pretty horrendous, and clearly it's going to be a very busy time over Christmas too. So keep your fingers crossed on that one, that settles down. We also had the shenanigans down at this end that everyone's going to be talking about in the first half. Norwich put the ball out of play for treatment. I think it was treatment to Eni and to Pukki and to, I can't remember who else it was, but there was a Leicester player too, and they had a coming together, and but for some reason they took the throw, and Iheanacho decided that he could just run on goal when the Norwich players were going, "You're giving it back," and they clearly weren't, and began to get a lot more annoyed. Either Iheanacho went rogue, or he just misunderstood the situation, which was the line from the Leicester players after the game. So what we then had was a VAR check, because they had a scuffle, and Todd Cantwell was not best pleased. So they checked for a red card. I think VAR quite rightly felt there's no way we can give a red card for this because of what had happened before it. And the key point, because the referee had given a free kick to Leicester around the edge of the box, James Maddison just knocked the ball out of play. Now the game has officially carried on, so there is no reason in this earth that James Maddison should be just knocking the ball back out for a goal kick, unless VAR has kind of looked at the whole shenanigans and gone, "Look, Mr. Madley, get this sorted." So that would be my interpretation of it all. James Maddison got a lovely round of applause from more than 3,000 Norwich fans here, by the way. Got a really lovely reception at the end. He was hugging Delia and Stuart Webber, and he saw Daniel Farke as well after the game, and obviously means a lot to him. And I think it's lovely to see a kid who was so good when he really got the chance to shine at Norwich, helped save the club from a lot of other sales, and then has gone on to flourish in the Premier League. And we're all hoping that some of Norwich's attacking talent can also flourish in the Premier League once they develop themselves. So fair play to Maddison. I think everyone wishes him a huge amount of success for the rest of the season with this cracking Leicester team. I have to say, Shagla Soyuncu, some fantastic defensive work late on, because if it wasn't for him, Norwich would have won this game. And that's in kilter with what Norwich did at the other end. Christoph Zimmermann and Max Aarons had a proper shout at each other at one point, but I think everyone decided that we like to see that, because it means there's a bit of character around. So all good. There will be, of course, some proper analysis and a lovely story from tonight over at The Athletic over the course of the weekend, so keep an eye out for that. A busy week leading up to Christmas, so you know where I will be. Make sure you subscribe. There is a discount as well, 40% off if you use the code NorwichPod, and that's because we've got the On The Ball podcast, which is free to listen on all your usual podcast players. Have a look in the notes. I'll leave a link for you to subscribe to that, because you'll be able to find it. So have a look and listen to that every week. Until then, it's a healthy point. It's a good position, and long may Norwich's resilience that they showed today be exposed, certainly against Wolves next weekend, which will be an incredibly tough game in Carrow Road, but maybe more pertinently against some of the teams up and around them from here on in. Fingers crossed. That will be what gives them the biggest hope. See you later. Safe travels.